says we are now live streaming. Yes, we are now live. I see us on the interwebs. Let's kick this off. So welcome everyone. My name is Guy Royce. I'm the host of ColumbusJS. ColumbusJS is formerly the Columbus JavaScript user group. We're a JavaScript meetup, unsurprisingly based in Columbus, Ohio, not Columbus, Georgia, or any of the other Columbuses that are scattered across the United States. And we meet every third Wednesday and host speakers from wherever we can get them. When we were meeting in the physical space, they were usually local folk, but now we're here on the internet, and so we can get anyone from anywhere, and it's kind of cool. Tonight we've got Santosh Yadav. Did I get your name pronounced right? I should have asked that ahead of time, right?
No, it's absolutely fine. It's correct. You pronounced it correct.
You're not the first Santosh I've met, so. And Santosh is going to be giving a talk on optimizing. Well, I'll let you kick it off. Let's give Santosh a big warm welcome, and he can kick off his talk. And yeah, kick it. How about it, Santosh?
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Okay, just confirm if it is visible.
I see it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So
it's on stream. Everyone. We're good.
Yeah. So, hello everyone, and good morning from India. So today I'm going to talk about one of the really interesting topic, because this is something which I have been doing from a long time, and there are some things which are they were my experiments in my previous project, where we were struggling with large bundle size, and then we went on to actually optimize those apps, reduce our bundle size as well. So it will, of course, it will contain some of the experiments which I did, and they were successful, and I also wrote about it. So this is what this talk is going to contain, and there will be some general topics which, of course, you might be aware of it or may not be aware of it. It's up to, I think, how much experience you have in Angular, but there will be some topics which are general, right? So it can be used in any type of project, even though you are using React or Vue. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And let me just introduce myself. My name is Santosh Yadav, and I'm one of the GDs, a GD for Angular. GD stands for Google Developer Expert, and I'm also a writer for indep.dev. I think you can see my slide everywhere. It is mentioned in indep.dev. In case you are interested for writing for indep.dev, we are actually looking for writers as well. You can just send me a draft, and I will take it to the editor's team, and they will it will be reviewed, and then you will be onboarded as a writer. So if you're interested, please feel free to ping me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and wherever you find it comfortable. I'm also a mentor for .NET Tricks and for money, right? So I work as a consultant, because of course you need money. So these are my handles. You can follow me anywhere on Santosh Yadav Dev. I also have my portfolio, santosh-yadav.dev, which I am again reworking on. So I'm trying to use a nice Tailwind CSS to make it better. So it doesn't look that great right now, but yes, I'm working on it. So yeah, let's kick off the talk. And for this talk, what I have done is I have already created an app. So this is what the app contains. So you have three menu bar, dashboard, department, employee, nothing fancy. I'm just using Angular material to do this. And we will be optimizing this app. So let me just show you how much the size of this app is. This is in dev mode. I'm running mains.js is 1.33 MB, but pretty small app. So we will see how we can optimize. We will create a production build to see the actual size, and then we will optimize this app. So let's go ahead and do that. So how to approach, right? So how to approach optimizing your app. So for these are the prerequisites. You have to be aware of Angular material. I'm using custom theme because this was one of the thing which we had done in our application, and somehow themes were also responsible for my bundle size. I mean, it was really strange, but yes, it was, and that's why I did that. So the first thing and most basic thing, right? So you have, in case you are getting an Angular application, you will end up writing a lot of ng calls. I'm sure you know the reason why, because whenever you want to work with list, you want to display some data, you actually go ahead and use struct_by to loop over those list of data and bind it. So let's see what's the problem. So I'll just go back to the app. So let me just just hide. Okay. So this is the app which we have. And what I have done is in this example, I am actually loading this employee list here. So you can see this employee list is actually available. Now let's go ahead and see what's the problem with this. I'll just use DevTools here and I will inspect the element. And just let's see when we see this get employee, right? So whenever I click on this get employee method, which is actually taking the entire data from one of the service. So I have created a dummy service. Uh, so if I click on this, you can see all the tiers are actually being impacted. So what it is doing is internally, and this is one of the feature I really like about DevTools, that it gives you what is being repainted, right? So right now, if I see this, all the TD, TRs, T body, they are being repainted on your DOM. And of course, as soon as your list increases, you will have a lot of DOM manipulation which will happen, which is of course costly operation when it comes to the web, right? So repainting DOM element again and again, even though nothing is getting changed, right? So I'm just clicking on get employee and everything is like again doing the same stuff, and your DOM is being manipulated. So this is not good. So the first thing and you can do is you can just go ahead and add a track by function. Let's see how it works and what we are trying to solve using this. So I'll go back to my code, and this is where my ng for loop is. With ng for, you can use a track by function. So let's go to the code. So here it is. So I'll just add a track by property here, and then you have to pass a track by function against it. So let's call it as track by name. I don't have any value, unique value. I'll just come to that point as well, what you need. So I'll just say, okay, there will be a function called track by name. So now this track by name function, which I have already implemented here, I have just commented it out. So you can see, so track by name function gets two parameters. So one is the index value and another is the object or the employee data which we have. So let's see how it is related. So you pass a function to track by, and track by name, it will actually track your data based on the unique key which you provide. So in case you have any unique key, or let's say most of the time we have primary key, right? So it's better if you can return that primary key here. I don't have any primary key or unique key right now. So I'm just using first name, and because this is of course my sample service, and I'm just using the unique first name for every record. So what it does behind the scene, how it is going to impact or improve our performance, right? So let's save this and go back to the DOM, and let's inspect the same element. So here we have this employee list, which is the table, and let's open the tbody again. So get employee. So of course, this was the first operation, right? So what we did is we called get employee, and you can see, I think you might have seen that, okay, everything was repainted again. Let's click on get employee again. So this is where, so I'll just save it again. Looks like the changes are not still reflected. Let's click on get employee. And now if I click on get employee again, you can see the elements are not repainted again. So the way it works is it will go ahead and check. So using track by, it will internally go ahead and check what is the unique key. In case it will compare the previous data with the current data which we have. So if in case there are any differences, for example, you get new records, right, from your backend. So it is going to repaint or add those records only inside your TR. So it will, let's say, for example, you have 100 records, and you remove one single record. So how many times, of course, you have to run your for loop, like 100 times, right? So 100 times it will be repainted again, even though you just changed a single record. So how you can avoid that, just use track by and add a function where you return a primary key, and it will check, okay, 99 records are same. I can see there is only one record which is updated or maybe removed or something. So it will just go ahead and update a single record. It means you are saving those many DOM manipulation on your screen. So that's the advantage of using track by. Always prefer using unique key. In case you don't have unique key, you can rely on the index value, but that's not safe. It might be that you are shuffling your data or sorting your data. In that case, it will fail. Remember that. if you have a unique key, of course, that you are on the safer side, because even though you shuffle the records, you sort the records, you still have the unique key available, and based on that, you may save some of the DOM manipulation. So this is the first and easiest thing to do. So wherever you are using track by, ng4, go ahead and add track by. This really improves your performance of your application. So this is the first thing which you can do. Now let's move and see what's next, right? And this is something I recommend to everyone: change detection. So in Angular, of course, to whenever you emit some data, emit some events, or make some changes, someone has to take the changes. Of course, at the end, it will be repainted on your UI. So who is responsible for that? So let's talk about a little bit of theory. So internally, Angular has something known as zone.js. Whenever you raise any event, for example, let's say this is our component tree. So you have a root component, and then you have A component and B component, and they again have their own child. So what will happen? So let's say my AC component, which is available here, raises an event. It adds a new record, let's say, to in my backend. So it raises an event, calls a service, and saves the data. So what is going to happen? So of course, zone.js comes to know about, okay, there is an event raised, and then it follows top to bottom approach. So it will go to app component. It will go ahead and see how many childs I have. It will go ahead and update every node. Consider this for like an application where you have 200 components. So of course, a costly operation again. What you can do using change detection strategies, which is available. So what, you can actually disable the change detection for one of the component which has not changed. For example, here. So let's say B component changes, right? So you have A component and B component, both raises some operation. So in case B component or emits some event, or let's say performs some operation, you can remove component A from the change detection tree. How is that possible? So you can use something known as change detection strategy on push. So how we can achieve that? So what we will do is, to do that, I will use, let's say, one of the component. I'll create a new component for this, as this is more of a hands-on type of session. So I'll just go ahead and create a new component called department list. So I'll say ng g and then c. I'll say this is department hyphen list. Okay, so now we have department list component which is available, and we are going to use or make this component as dumb component. So I'm going to use the input to accept the input of accept the department list. So here I'll just create an input which is taken from Angular 4, and then I will create a property. So I'll create property as, let's say, this is TPP list, and which is type of I'll not create any interface right now, but of course in your application you should always go ahead and create an interface and then define the data. So here I have department list object which is available, and now I can bind this data here. So I'll just use this inside my department list. I'll bind to I'll use this selector property here, so I can show the department list on my UI. So let's go ahead and see the application again, where you have. So let's click on department, and this is the list, and this is department list works. It's really small here. So, or let's see. And what we will do is we will move this entire list, right? So entire table inside this department list component. This is what we are going to do, because we already have the data and don't. This is the data source. Yeah. So we already have the data, and we will use the same data to pass as input property, and we will also implement change direction strategy on push. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just move this entire page table. Let's see where the table is. Yep. So this is the table. I'll move it inside. I'll comment this mat paginator. And I will move the CSS as well, because I just want to show the entire full width table here. Let's fix these imports. Okay, so we have this table available now. Let's see. I think this also has a data type. So new department source, which is of type should be department item. Okay, so this is The interface is already available, and the good thing is we can already use it. So I'll go to department list component, use this as interface, and we also need the columns. This is how Angular material table works. So you also need to pass the list of columns which you want to show, as we are using the same. So I'll go to template, and you can see it is giving me error here. It says displayed columns are not available. And here I'll just use some property called data source is equals to the data which I'm going to get from the input property. So which is the EPT list. So let's use this here. Okay, so now I have got the table with data source, and what I need is the list of columns to be displayed, which I will just borrow from the existing component, and it has displayed columns here. So I'll just use it as it is. You may pass this as a parameter as well as an input parameter, and you can say, okay, these are the columns which I want to display. And let's go ahead and comment this out because I'm not going to use it anymore. After viewing it, I'll just comment, remove it as well. So a little bit of refactoring which I have done here. So I'll just come save this, and let's see what we get. So you have ID and name, but of course the data is not available here. So how we can get the data? So I'll just pass from here. We'll use the input property which we have defined. So this property is DPT list and is equals to. So I need the data which is available. So this data was new department source. This is the data. So I'll just use a new data source. Let's see what data source is. Department data source. I'll just use this data source as it is. Let's see if it is able to bind the data. And no, it is not. So I'll just use the data source.ts. So I'll just use this example data. I'll just move this from here because it contains a lot of code. So I'll just use this entire example data, which is department item array, into my component. Just to make it work, I mean, of course, in real-time example, you will be calling us your services and then getting the data. So let's see what is the error here is. Cannot read page property of undefined. Where is this? Department data source.ts. Okay, I'll just comment out this code, which is not required anymore. So I'll just comment this code and should be good now. So you have the data available. But of course, as we are parsing this data from my parent component, and whenever I raise some events, let's say go to elements, I'll just inspect this. I'll just go to the element tab again and see what happens whenever I do some operation, right? So let's go to router outlet app department, and let's try to actually, no, I don't have anything here, but you can see whenever I actually move or click on any of the buttons here, actually it is going to re-render everything. Actually, it is going to run the change detection and it will re-render everything which is available. So what I can do here is in department also, I can make this child component as dumb component. So it is not aware from where it is getting the data, right? So it's kind of reusable component which we have. And whenever I am doing that, I can just go ahead and say change detection strategy and move it to on push. So what will happen in this case? I'll just go ahead and add one service to add a new record into our department list. So this is where this is change detection strategy is very useful, but let's comment it right now and add a button. So I'll just add a button and I'll say, okay, this is button, mat raised button. And then let's see how it works. Raised button. And then also on click, we will add a new record into our data. So on click, what I'm going to do is I'll say add new department. This will be function and also this is add department. Let's go to our VS code, add new department, and right now I'm going to use, I'll use this example data. As this is an array, I can simply push the record here. So I'll say this dot example data dot push, and I'll pass another record here, ID 21 and name test. So This is it. Okay, I have an extra brackets available here. So this is what we are doing, add new department, and then we are just calling or adding a one more record into this list. So let's see if it works. So you can see, okay, you are calling add department, but nothing works. The reason being, when you are using Angular material and all the components which are actually available inside Angular material, they use on change direction strategy on push by default. So you cannot push the data directly into the list. What you have to do is whenever you are working with change direction strategy on push, you have to always make sure that you mutate the data. So this is where, sorry, this is where, so you always create a new object. So this is where we can use something like ngrx, or you may use subject or behavior subject in RxJS. But in just to show you an example in terms of JavaScript, this is what you can do. You can use the spread operator to actually create a new object every time. So this is, let's say, example data is equals to, I'll use the spread operator to add a new record into this. So I'll say comma, and this is the object which we need. So I'll say this is const new department is equals to, this is our data which is available, and I will just push this new department into the array, and you will see everything works again. So let's click on add department, and you are able to see the new record. But of course, we have not made our own component compatible with change direction strategy on push. So what you can do is you can just uncomment this, and now you have made a component which will only run in case it is changing. So in case I add a new record or click on add department, which is going to actually mutate or mutate this object, which is known as example data, and it will trigger the change direction. Otherwise, it will not trigger the change direction. For example, let's say if I have more buttons, right? So I have, let's say, another action which is being performed inside the this department component, which, let's say, edits the data, but it is not somehow impacting my list of, or you can say the department list component. So the department component list will never run the change direction. So in case you have a lot of components, try to make them compatible with change direction strategy on push, where you can save a lot of change direction which runs by default in Angular. So that is something which you should target for. The best approach would be actually using some state management technique. Either you can go ahead and use ngrx, ngxs, or whatever you like. Or in case you don't have a large application, you can always go ahead and work with subject and behavior subject. I'm not showing you that example here right now, but yes, this is how it should be. You should always create a new object rather than actually mutating or changing your object directly. For example, if I do maybe dot push, which is a wrong way, right? So it actually uh, will mutate your object. So it is not going to create a new object for you. It will just go ahead and add, okay, this example data exists. I'm just going to add a new record. So it will never work with on change direction strategy on push. Uh, so this is how you can convert your child components. And in case you want to convert your parent components as well to change direction strategy on push, the best way is, of course, the same state management techniques by using which you can do that. So let's move on to the next point, which we have. So now, of course, as you keep adding a lot of features to your application, your bundle size will increase. So at one point of time, you will see, okay, your default bundle size, which is main.js file, which gets generated, you will see, okay, this is in MBs, and now what we have to do. So this is where you can actually go ahead and utilize lazy loading. But this is not something after you realize that your application has grown. You should try to do lazy loading from the day one if you are aware of how your application is going to be used. So lazy loading is like splitting your code into multiple chunks. And for this example, what we will do is right now we have this, you can see the bundle size, which is, let's try to see how much bundle size we have right now. So for this, what I have done is there is a tool which is called Source Map Explorer, which exists. So I'm going to use the same Source Map Explorer to see the bundle size. So how you do that is actually, it is already mentioned in the slide. I'll just go to that particular slide. So you have Source Map Explorer, and to make your life easier, I have created a tool which is the ngx builder / analyze. This is the tool which you can add, and it is already added into this project. So if I go to, uh, yeah, so let's go to package.json, you will find this tool which is already added here, ngx builders analyze. The version is 2, and it actually adds a new command into your architecture. extracts command. So you'll see build, serve, extract, and there is one more called analyze. So this is what analyze command is available here, and it will give you the statistics about your application right now. So let's go ahead and run it. And what I have done is I have added one analyze command here. Otherwise, you have to run this entire command. So I'll just run this analyze command into our window. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'll say ng run analyze. So it will create a production build. It will this cannot determine project or target for the command. Sorry, because it's bnpm run analyze. So it is what it is going to do is it will run your application or build your application in production mode, and it will give you some statistics about your application, how much the bundle size is, which are the packages which are responsible for your bundle size. So everything is included into this. So let's wait for the build. And it uses source map as true, which you should not do in production build. So that's why I created this tool just to override some defaults. And now it is actually generating the ES5 bundle as well for differential loading. In case you are not supporting the older browser, I think you can disable ES5 or the differential loading. And just to give you an idea, in Angular 10, if you create a new project, the differential loading is not enabled anymore by default. It was from Angular 8 onwards, it was enabled by default, but as soon as now actually a lot of teams are actually not supporting older browsers, and I11 won't be supported anymore. So what you have is unable to open browser. Okay, somehow why? Let's go to this path and open this. Close. I think this is some issue with default browser. So this is how actually your stats looks like. So you have right now 1.05 MB of bundle size, which is like pretty huge. We just have like 4 components in our application, but 1.05 MB of size for my production build. So if you see the main.es 2015 is 1.02 MB, polyfills are less, so it is reducing with every releases, and you in future it may be gone, and you have runtime available. So let's see how we can actually optimize this main.js, right? So you can see it has Angular, which is 628 KB, which is still huge. And then you have RxJS, you may see Angular material as well, which is 206 KB. And this is our source code. So my source code is around 375 KB. And this is because I'm using the custom themes in Angular material. And you have this department list and department component, which is 182 KB, which is really huge. I was surprised to see these stats in my own application, because I could see every component was around 98 KB. I was like, why so? I mean, why my application, each and every component is used this huge. So let's see how we can actually do split this using lazy loading first, and then we'll see how we can actually optimize this components as well. So let's implement lazy loading. And we will do it for one of the component first. Let's target employee maybe. So to refactor employee, what we have to do is we have to first add a module, employee module. So I'll say ngg m, and I'll say this is employee, and I will create a routing module as well for this. And I'll also create a route. So Angular CLI allows you to do it in your command prompt. So I'll say, okay, this route would be employee. And this should be registered into module called app. So I can just do it in a single command. So it will create, it may give me error. Okay, so the problem is I already have these components available. In case you don't have the component available, you can run this entire command, and it will create the components for you. It will configure the lazy loading for you, and it will create a route as well into our app routing module.ts. Right now, it is not possible because we already have the component. So what we will do is we'll just create it manually. So I'll skip routing, route equals to employee. So I'll say, okay, this is -hyphen routing, and this is it. So I just need an employee module and its own routing module. So now what we have is a separate module for employee and a separate routing module for employee. So I'll just remove the employee component and employee list component from app module, because the first rule of actually doing lazy loading is your module should not share anything with anyone else. We are going to lazy load it, right? So it will be loaded on demand. This is what we mean by lazy loading. It will create a separate chunk of JS, and whenever we request for it, at that particular time, the chunks will be loaded. So let's go to employee app module, and this is where I will remove employee component from here and employee list component. So now my application is not aware what employee and employee list component contains, and I'm going to remove all unused exports here. So sorry, imports. And now of course I will start getting an error because my application is not aware of this particular routes. So if I try to click on employee, okay, somehow um, it is not saved, so it looks like. Okay. So let's see. I have to run it again. And meanwhile, I'll just configure it. I'll just make the other changes. So I'll just register the employee component and employee list component as part of employee module itself. So now my employee list component is only aware of the employee module is only aware of employee component and employee list component. So of course, I'll be getting some exceptions here. So you can see, okay, there are a lot of errors right now. Let's fix those. And the first thing where a lot of people do stop doing such kind of optimization is they get scared as soon as they get errors. So one good thing about Angular is you are getting all the errors inside your terminal. So it's easy to read and easy to figure out, okay, what the problem is. For example, it says, okay, the mat divider is an Angular component and it is not available. How you should do that. So of course, in case you have worked in Angular material, you know that I have to import mat divider module. That's what we have to do. So let's try to fix one error at a time. So now I'll also remove this route module from here. So I have employee rather than component. I'll just change the syntax to the lazy loading syntax which we have. Here I'll just say this is load children. So this is how you actually configure lazy loading, and then you will use arrow function and then native import. This is and you will try to find the employee module first here. So I'll say okay dot slash. I'll go to employee slash employee module, and then it returns a promise. So I'll say then, and I'll just use m as variable and then employee module. So this is what how you can configure lazy loading for your module. So now you have load children, and then you are using dynamic import to load to find your employee module which exists, and then once this is available, you are loading the employee module. So this is where I'll just remove this import as well. And now no one knows about employee component. Only employee module knows about this particular module, or sorry, the components. Now what about these errors? We have to fix it as well. But by this time, you have actually created a separate chunk for employee module. So if I go to my builds, you will be able to see employee module, and it is around 460 KB in development. So this is not a production build, but in development, you can see another chunk of employee module, which is available. So you have achieved this. Let's fix those errors. So what you have to do is, in case I'm lazy loading, I have to also provide all the modules which are being used inside employee. So if I go to the errors, you are able to see, okay, there is something called app employee list, which is not the issue, but yep, this is the issue, right? So you have mat card, you have form group. So of course, so for forms, we need, this is reactive forms. So we are going to use reactive forms module. And then we have mat card. So I'm going to use mat card module. And what else we have? So mat card header, so which is of course part of mat card module itself. Then we have mat form field. So I'll just use the mat form field module. We also need mat input module. And what else we have here? Mat error is again part of mat form field. We have again, okay, this is mat error, and looks like, okay, let's save it and see what are the modules which are left now. And it will throw an exception in case it is not able to find something. So it says, okay, mat divider. So we'll just add mat divider module as well. And let's hope everything is taken. No, mat radio button. So you have mat radio module. And is there anything else which is missing? Looks mat option. So I'll say mat select. or mat option. I think mat select module is the one which we need to use for mat options. So look, okay, cool. So I think all the errors are gone now. So it is compiled successfully. You have employee module, and let's see how it impacts your application, right? So what we are going to do is I'm going to run the stats again. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just run npm run analyze. And if you remember, the earlier bundle size was 1.05 MB, including everything. And now what we are doing is we are lazy loading employee module. So it should have its own chunk, separate chunk, which should be available. And the most important thing is you should try to reduce the bundle size on your first load, because your application should be served as fast as possible. If your application is taking a lot of time, let's say you have like 1 MB of your bundle size, which you are serving on production, not everyone has a good internet, right? So you may have like hundreds of Mbps which is available to you, but there are areas where still we get 256 or 512 kbps, and even 3G, right? So 3G is even a lot slower than that. So what you can do is you can actually serve them less bundle by splitting everything into multiple chunks, and then it will be just downloaded once they request for it. So let's wait till this uh, bundle is generated again, differential loading. So you have, okay. So now you can see, okay, now what we have done is we have made the entire bundle size. Okay, this is reduced already. You can see it comes to 979 KB, one from 1.05 MB. So we have already saved around 30 KB, 30 KB, 30, 35 KB for us. And my main bundle, you can see 940 KB. So you have here saved around 60 KB already by just doing lazy loading for your application. You can see you have department component available. One most important thing to do, right? So whenever you configure lazy loading, you should always go ahead and check your stats in case you find any other particular other module which are actually included as part of your main JS file, which is not needed, right? So at the load time, maybe you can actually find that out using this particular tool. This is really great because when I started actually optimizing my application, I figured out, okay, there are a lot of components which are loaded by default, even though we don't need them at that particular time. For example, we had a component which used to give me the product list, and we figured out, okay, this is something which is available by default. I was like, why? Which was a pretty huge module because we had a lot of things included as part of our product list. It used to give us a list of documents to be loaded, list of other operations. So we had a mat table where you can actually click on and go into other screens. So it was pretty huge module and everything was loaded by default. So we realized that, okay, these are the modules or these are the components which should not be loaded, and then we ended up doing all this lazy loading stuff, right? So we added modules for every feature, then tried to configure the lazy loading by using our routing, and then we decreased our bundle size. So I'll just tell you what was my bundle size later on. But right now, let's see here. So we have already saved 60 kbps or 60 KB of my bundle size by just doing lazy loading. And you can see you don't have employee component available here. So if I click on this 5, and you will be able to see, okay, this is the lazy loaded module which we have. Now you can see, okay, employee module is around how much? 62 bytes, 662 bytes, which is pretty small, right? But let's move on. And what we will do next is, now this is one of the what you can say. Uh, I did this as an experiment for my own application, and then I wrote a blog post on this. The next thing is maybe something which is applicable for you, and I think you should do it. So the next thing which we are going to talk about is about shared module. What I mean by the shared module is, you may have seen this code. I'm sure a lot of us applications still contains this code. In case you're not doing it, that's pretty good. So you might have seen this code always in case you are using Angular material. So you have a shared module available. Everything is imported here, and then you are exporting it again wherever you need. So right now it's part of your imports for your app module. You should not do this. For my experiment, right? So what I did is I created a new application. So this is a new application created using ng new, and it was 382 KB. And then I added this particular module. Where is that? I added this particular module, which was sorry, I added few components. And then I added this code, which I have taken from Angular material documentation, right? So I just copied and pasted it into my code. I had this code available in my previous application as well when I used to work with Deutsche Bank. And when I joined this project, I also had this particular code. So I was like, why we need to actually add everything? And then what I ended up doing is I added this Angular material module, and suddenly my application was 639 KB. I was like, okay, 200 KB increased by just adding a shared module, and even I'm not using most of them, right? So for right now for our application, you can see I'm using mat divider, mat form, mat select, but not others. So why I actually still have those codes? So so I thought let's try to remove it. So what I did first step is I added lazy loaded module as we did right now. So once I added lazy loaded module, my application was 705 KB. So I was like, okay, this is still huge, and with shared module included, right? So what I did is right now, if you see my employee module, I'm not using shared module here. If I add shared module, of course, my application size will grow. So what I ended up doing is I removed the shared module entirely from my application, and then I just imported whatever is needed. For example, for this employee module, right? So we need just mat card, mat form, mat input, mat divider, mat radio, and mat select. So I removed shared module from everywhere. So for my experiment, it went down to 664 KB, which is really good, right? So 705 KB, 664. So around 40 KB is saved. For my application, I ended up saving around more than an MB. So because what I did is I removed the shared module, and as well as we had a lot of applications shared module. I mean, we had a lot of reusables, and what we were doing is we added everything into one single shared module, and then we were actually importing that shared module everywhere. So I was like, okay, why we are doing it? I mean, I'm not going to use this reusables everywhere. So if I'm just working on, let's say, product module, why I need those components which are not related to product? Why I need that? Or the pipes which are available globally, and I don't want to use it for, let's say, my one of the lazy loaded module. So I removed both, and I saved a lot of like around 1 MB of my production build. This is what I did. So let's remove it from here as well. So from shared here, I'll just remove shared module, and let's see what happens, right? Of course, we are going to get a lot of errors. Again, don't be scared of the errors. So you have mat menu, which is giving you error, and data source, which is actually related to mat table. Then you have mat toolbar. So let's try to fix those, how we can do it. So in real time example, of course, you should have a new module for department. Right now, I'm not going to do it just to save some time. So here, I'll just add mat table module, right? So this is what we need. Then we have mat side nav. So I'll say this is mat side nav module, mat menu uh, module, and what else we have here is mat toolbar. So mat toolbar, and looks pretty good. I think I have added everything which is needed. So let's save it. Okay, mat card. Okay, we also need mat card module. Let's see what are the others. So mat icon. Okay, we also need mat icon. We also need mat button because we are going to use it at multiple places, and this is fine. So let's see. And right now it says mat icon is not part of main nav. Mat toolbar, which is not part of main nav. Let's see, dashboard. Okay, so dashboard has its own module because this is how I configured it. I'll remove the unused. So I just added whatever imports which is needed. So I'll remove shared module, and I will just add the different modules, material module which is needed. So I'll say mat card, mat menu, mat icon, mat button, because I removed shared module, right? So earlier, so this is why it is not able to resolve, and I will just remove shared module. So now shared module is not imported anywhere in my application. So let's see. Okay, so maybe I need to just restart the build again. And dashboard module, I think it's already imported here. No, dashboard component. So I'll just remove dashboard component from here, and I'll use dashboard module rather. So I'll just say this is dashboard module, and let's see our build. Even it fails, it will fail with some errors. So now, okay, it says, okay, you have this mat icon is not an Angular component. Dashboard module, mat icon module, mat toolbar. What's this? Okay, I need to do an export here. So I need to export this dashboard component, which is available. And now I should have main nav. What is this main nav component of TS? Just a second. So I have this mat toolbar by mat nav list. Mat toolbar is okay. It's not available. So I'll just add mat toolbar module, and what we had. The other one was mat nav list. Okay. Mat nav list. Okay. So I think it's mat list module, which is available for mat nav list, and we also need mat icon module. Okay, looks like everything is added now. Okay, so we removed the shared module. Now let's see our application size again. So I'll just run the analyze command again to see how much we have saved. Remember, for web, even a KB matters. So even though we are able to reduce our bundle size by small percentage, it's worth doing it. Okay.
These modules, as they're being loaded, lazy loaded, does it still take advantage of like caching strategies that you traditionally see for fingerprinted files? I don't know the mechanism Angular uses.
We can use PWAs actually, so you can configure service workers. So once you download it, it is cached, and whenever the next time your user uses the application, they are served from the cache. So you can actually do that by using PWA. So now let's see the bundle size again. And, so our application is also working. Let me just show you how lazy loading works actually behind the scenes. Here, you just do Control F5. This department. So if you remember, we did lazy loading for employee. So somehow this URL is sorry. This navigation is broken, but I can show you how it works. So I can go to sources. You can see, of course, there is a huge improvement, right? So we reduced to 915 KB right now. So I'll come to that point, but let me just show you how lazy loading actually works. Here, if I go to webpack.src and app. So this is where actually your entire code is available. You can see the employee folder is not available right now because we are doing a lazy loading for employee module. So what will happen is whenever I click on, let's say, I will go to network, and whenever I click on employee, you can see an employee.js file, employee.module.js file is actually loaded at this particular time. So it is actually not loading this code until unless we request for it. And now you will be able to see this employee folder available here. This is what lazy loading means. So we are actually delaying entire code to be actually loaded by default. And let's go back to the source map, right? So we actually reduced our bundle size from 1.05 MB to 960 or something. And now it comes down to 915 KB, which is really good, right? If I talk about the effort which we ended up doing, what we did is right till now, we just removed our shared module and we reduced or added one lazy loaded module. So my main.js is 875 KB, which was around more than 900 KB. So you can see you have already decreased your main.js bundle, which was from 990 something to 875. More than 100 KB is already saved by using these two optimization techniques. And our application size also reduced to from 1.05 to 915, which is around 90 KB by using this two optimization technique. Of course, for a smaller application, it looks like a small task to do, but in case you have a large application, I will suggest try to start with each and individual modules, right? So don't try to actually remove shared module at once from everywhere. What you will end up doing is actually you will have a lot of errors to take care of it. And of course, we work in sprints, right? So you won't be able to complete your sprint. So try with smaller modules, and then eventually in multiple sprints, try to reduce those bundle size. So this is how you should do it. Don't be taken away by just seeing this hands-on training and hands-on thing, and then you'll realize, okay, I can actually reduce my bundle size, and then you end up just deleting your shared module. So what I did, I made a mistake. So in my application, what I did is I just went to my code, removed shared module, because what I wanted to see was we had a lot of components, right? So we had around 200 components, and it was pretty difficult to figure out, okay, what is getting used where. So I just deleted my shared module, and I ended up with a lot of errors. And then I ended up fixing all those errors. This is how I started it, but I will not suggest this to everyone. Try to do it one module at a time, in case you are aware of the application. When I started my project, I was new, so I was not aware of what is being done internally. Of course, I try to play with it, and then try to understand what's being done, how it is being done. So now we have removed shared module, and it disconnected it from the world, from the entire application, by just doing this optimization. Now let's move on to the next thing. What I did next. Let's go back to our slides. So always check your bundle size. What is included. So of course, this is the tool which I wrote, and then I'm using this tool in my previous application, and I'm supposed to use it in my new project as well, which I'm supposed to start this Friday. And you can also utilize it. But the next thing which I did is budgets. This is really important, because what I found is, in my application, the budget size was actually already set to a very huge number. So you can see here maximum warning and minimum warning, and then there are some types. What is this? Let's go to our code base again. Whenever you create a new Angular application, you will find in Angular JSON in build, you have a property called budgets, and it actually it's kind of a threshold value which you set. For example, right now I'm saying for my initial bundle size, my maximum bundle size can be 2 MB. At this point, my application will give me a warning. But if my build goes beyond 5 MB, which is true for most of the enterprise application, in my application, my entire build was 6 MB. From 9 MB to 6 MB, which we reduced. I'll come back to that point. But right now, its maximum error is 5 MB, which is pretty huge for a large enterprise application still. So what you can do is, first thing which you should do is just go ahead and check your bundle size, okay, by running this tool, and then you will realize, okay, what is my initial bundle size, and adjust these budgets. What happens whenever you start adding new code, your application initial bundle size will increase. But sometimes what happens is, due to wrong import, your bundle size grows exponentially. I could see after adding these budgets, I could see one of the feature which was added by one of the developer. The budget size increased by 500 KB, which was a red flag, right? Why should a single module which is added right now should increase my budget by 500 KB? This is like creating a new getting started app, right? So 500 KB was huge, and this is how we were able to figure out, okay, there is some problem in that particular module. Angular will not give you that particular error, but by using this budgets, what you can see is, okay, there is a huge spike in my budget size, so I can just go ahead and see what was added and if there is any problem. So we realized, okay, in our application we have actually imported some modules which are actually was exported multiple times, so increasing our budgets, increasing our bundle size by 500 KB, and then we removed those modules from the imports array, and then it came back to around, it increased our bundle size by 10 KB, so which was okay. We got satisfied. Okay, 10 KB is okay. There are a few components as well. So always set the initial budget size, as well as in case there are multiple types which are available, I'll just go back to that, as well as any component style. This is where I figured out there we had another issue. For you can see right now the maximum warning is 6 KB and maximum error is 65 KB, because I'm using the custom theme. And if you use custom theme, your minimum styling for each and every component. This is for each and every component. Okay, so It means this many of KBs of styles is actually added into that particular component. So whenever you use custom theme, it takes around 60 KB by default, just to give you an idea. But I realized there are few components where my budget size for component style, the maximum uh, KB for a budget for each component was more than 100 KB. So I was like, why? How it can happen? So I realized there were few wrong imports. So always set this to 10 KB to start with in case you are using custom theme. I think 65 KB is what you need. So what we realized is, so I have added this code just to show what was we were doing wrong. So you can see this particular component, right? So dashboard component. We are not using themes anywhere. So actually we are not using SCSS variables anywhere, but we still had these imports. So what we realized is if I really remove these imports, my application or the style of my component reduces, of course, because it reduces by 40 KB. So just to give you an idea, so it reduces your component size by 40 KB, which is still used, right? 40 KB is very big. And at some places, what the developers did is, I'm sure you know about this material theme. In case you have created custom themes, you might be aware of this particular file. So this is like where you initialize or you provide the entire theme for your application. At some places, actually, this entire SCSS material theme was imported into component, which actually increased the size to 100, more than 100 KB. So this is more of like hygiene, which you should take care of while doing the code review, because this is something which you can never capture. I mean, while writing your code, this is more of a code review thing where you should identify what needs to be imported whenever it comes to SCSS. So that was the another issue which we had. But let's go back to the budgets, right? So there are multiple types of budgets we can set. So you can see, of course, you can set bundle size. So you can specify how much your each and every bundle should be. Best thing is actually all. So all is actually for entire app. So initial is your initial bundle size, which will be loaded. For our application, we have maximum 5 MB, which is really huge. But right now, our application is not even 800 KB, right, for production build. So and all script. So you may be aware of this thing, which is available in Angular.json. You can also provide the scripts here, right? So in case you want to load in third-party scripts, you can also provide the size for this particular script. So your scripts should not go beyond some size. So just to give you an idea, Chrome DevTools gives you error in case any script is going beyond 20 KB. So of course, rather than actually relying on Chrome DevTools later to figure it out, you can just go ahead and say all scripts should not go beyond, let's say, 400 KB, 40 KB or something like that. In case you are using any third-party script, otherwise it's good to go. And we have more. So any component style. This is size of each and every component styles which will be added. Any script, so size of each in any of the scripts which is available. For example, as I said, right, Chrome DevTools says not to include any script which is more than 20 KB. So what you can do is go ahead and add this budget, any script which is 20 KB, and it will give you build error in case you import anything which is more than 20 KB. So this is how you can do it. And of course, any is actually any size of any file. So inside your application. So this is what different budgets you can set. And let's go back. I'll just run this again, analyze command. For Angular 10, I think this is one new feature which is available. You can also use strict mode inside a new Angular application. Let me just go ahead and create a new application using strict mode. So I'll use command prompt here, and I'll create a new application. So I'll just go to ng-new, and while creating a new application with Angular 10 onwards, you can pass a new app -- strict. So you can pass a flag called -- strict, which is available now. And let's see the advantage. So I'll just skip the install because I just wanted to show you a new app. So when you use strict flag with Angular 10 onwards, this is something which is also backward compatible. You will find a new package.json which is available inside your app folder. This is new. This is new, and this is pretty useful as well. What it does is it will do an extra optimization for your application. What is the extra optimization? So in Webpack there is a flag called side effects. So this is something side effects false, which we are setting from this particular package.json. What is going to happen is this particular package.json will be provided to your Webpack, and Webpack sees, okay, we are setting the side effects equals to false. What do you mean by side effects? So side effects are like we are not doing any modification once our application is actually deployed on production. So we are not actually maybe so if I talk about side effects, we are not trying to load something which is not available as part of your code, or doing some maybe manipulation within your code at runtime. Just to give an example, what I'm talking about is in older days, if you remember, we used to use ng factories, which was not used anymore. So most of the application which we create inside Angular are side effects free. So you can actually go ahead and add this package.json, and once Webpack sees this configuration, it will remove all the unused exports from your application. Just to give an idea, right now, if I go to my application and let's say I export something, right? So I'll create, let's say, a function. So I'll say this is function dot ts. And if I just do this add, export function add. So I'll just say this is num1, which is type of number, num2, which is type of number, and let's return the sum, right? So I'll say this is num1 plus num2. As soon as you add this export keyword, Angular, or right now, Angular cannot actually remove this particular code from your final build. It will find, okay, this is an export keyword, so it cannot figure out, okay, if I'm using it or not. But if I'm using this, the side effects equals to false, it means I'm not using this export anywhere. Webpack, while actually optimizing this application, will drop this line of code. So it will be removed from your application. New applications created using side effects free, side effect false, or you can say strict mode, you can see the budget is already reduced by, I think, 70 to 80%. So if you see, the maximum warning is 500 KB and maximum error is 1 MB. I added this into my new application which we started, and we could see it already reduced our bundle size by 400 KB. So actually we decided to go to monorepos, and then we created two applications. And one application was the existing application on which we were working on, and the new application we created using Angular CLI. And we added some primary configuration, whatever needed, right? So we added the home page and the respective pages, and the bundle size was around 3.96 or something. And then we just by adding this package.json file, so it reduced by 400 KB. So I'll always suggest, in case you are using starting a new application, go ahead and use strict flag, which is pretty good. And it also adds some extra checks for your application, which should be available in tsconfig. So it will always use strict injection parameters, strict input access modifiers, and strict template by default. It means you cannot use any. You should always go ahead and decide what types you are going to use. So in case you try to use anywhere, it will throw an exception. Similarly, access modifiers are required now. Injection parameters, I mean, this is something related to the DI. So in case you are trying to use DI in which is not compatible, it will also throw an exception to your application. So these are few default rules, and there will be few more which will be added in Angular 11 release. So Angular 11 RC, it got released today. I just got the tweet that, okay, we have already released it. And I also got the confirmation from Slack channel, which we have for Angular, that we have already released Angular 11 RC, and the target for Angular 11 release is 11th November. So this is what you can do, strict flag. And you can see, okay, let's go back to the bundle size, right? So you can see it now, it is now 825 KB. So this is pretty good because we removed that unused import of SCSS, and we removed shared module and everything, and 825 KB from 1.05 MB. More than 200 KB we have saved by just doing this small optimization for our application. Let's go back to our slides again, and always use ES module. This is what another problem which we had. We were using Moment.js. So Moment.js was actually adding around 600 KB to our application. So we actually removed Moment.js. So always try to avoid CommonJS modules in your application. With Angular 10, you also get a warning. You get a warning in case you are trying to use CommonJS modules inside your application. You can avoid that in case like you don't have any other option, right? So you have to use CommonJS modules. So you can actually add allowed CommonJS dependencies, and it will you can pass which module to use. For example, if I'm using Lodash or Moment.js and I still want to use it, I can just go ahead and say allowed CommonJS dependencies and pass those packages as string values. And this is what it will disable that warning. In case you don't want to say it, I think I would suggest go ahead and use it, because it may be possible that you are aware that you should not use CommonJS module, but a new teammate who joins your team and he says, okay, I want to include CommonJS for some reason, some CommonJS module for some reason, then you can actually, at the build time, you can see those errors or warnings. Sorry. Always use CDN. I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, but CDNs are something which you should always prefer in case you have some static assets, images, static files, everything. So what is the advantage? Of course, no low network latency, because CDNs will try to serve your assets from the nearest server, which is possible as possible, and of course high availability. And you also know from where your users are trying to connect to your application, right, or trying to access, and it decreases your server load because the images and assets are available on different servers. So always use CDN. This is really important point. More and more application we can see are actually using production build, which is a good thing. But also try to use gzip minification wherever possible. This is something which is supported by most of the servers. For example, I deploy my applications on Netlify. Netlify does this gzip minification by default. So even if you have your own server, try to see if you can actually enable gzip minification. Just to give you an idea, our production build for our application, which was actually earlier 9 MB, and then we did all this optimization, and we ended it up with initial bundle size was around 3.4 MB from initial 9 MB, and the entire application size was 5.9 MB. So this is what we did by doing all this optimization. We reduced I think 4 MB, we reduced 3 MB, right? So even if I talk about 3 MB, this is huge, right? So if I'm talking about from 9 to 6, we almost saved more than 40% or we decreased by more than 40% of our bundle size. So, and once we used to deploy it on with gzip minification, we used to serve around 700 KB. So this is what gzip minification does. Remember, 3.4 was the actual build size in production mode, but once we used to do this gzip minification, it used to come around 700 KB. So which is like a huge improvement if you talk about. And 700 KB is, I think, fine if we talk about an very large enterprise application where we had like 200 components as well as more than 150 modules. So this is it. I think I have added some references as well. So as I said, I did 2 experiments. One is actually using the SCSS properly in our application, and another one was to remove the shared module. And I also added this last link, which is actually Angular performance checklist, which was created by Minko. Minko is one of the developer advocate in Angular team, and he created this repository. So where we maintain the list of all the how you can actually improve the application performance, right? So by using some optimization, giving build tools, or listing some of the things like ngtrack, you should use track by, you should use on change detection strategy on push. So those are the things which are mentioned here. And I think that's it. In case you have any questions, you can ask, or in case you want to reach out to me later on related to any bundle size which you are struggling with, you can just send me a message on Twitter or a LinkedIn, and I'll be available there.
Well, excellent. Thank you, Santosh. Are there any questions?
I think I can see one from Matthew. Budgets is a feature of Effect 5. No, Matthew, it is available from the start. So I think it was added around Angular 7, if I'm not wrong, and Angular 7 or 8, they added it.
That wasn't a question. It was just a fact. The budgets feature is also available as part of Webpack,
Okay.
not just Angular.
Okay. So it got added into it. Oh, that's cool.
We did have one comment on Twitch early on. It was just Jordan Powell saying hello.
Hey, Jordan.
I don't know if he's still in chat or not, but hopefully he is. No, he's gone. So,
okay.
But he'll see it on the video, right?
Yeah. So I think John has, for these lazy loaded models, does Angular leverage caching strategies for them? I mean, so this is one thing which I want to talk about. If I go to lazy loaded module, right? So there are a few strategies which you can use for lazy loaded module. Let's show you. I think I have it somewhere. Yep. So uh, there are two strategies which are available for lazy loaded modules. So you can actually preload your lazy loaded modules, which you should not, because preloading lazy loaded modules causes another issue. So it will try to actually load your modules in background. The thing is, in case your it may application it make your application a little bit slower in case it is trying to do it in background. So try to avoid it, but there are two good solutions which is available. One is NGX Quick Link, which actually what it does is NGX Quick Link tries to lazy load your or try to load your bundle when you try once you actually move on to a menu, right? So for example, if I right now if I use NGX Quick Link and try to hover above employee URL, so it will identify, okay, this is something which is a lazy loaded module, so it will try to download that module in the background at that time. Another one is guest.js. Guest.js is kind of it uses the analytics, Google Analytics. I would say if you have Google Analytics already being used, I think you should go ahead and use this guest.js. So what it does is it will collect your data over the period of time, and it will try to identify which module should be loaded next. You don't have to write any code. You can just configure every module as a lazy loaded module. And based on the data which actually Google Analytics collected, guest.js will actually run the entire ML thing, right? So much ML and AI thing, and it will try to identify, okay, this, for example, employee module is something which is used frequently once I visit my application. So it will just go ahead and try to download employee module. And it says, okay, in employee module, you have few more lazy loaded modules. And it will say, okay, this particular user, in case you have user data as well, it will say, okay, this particular user actually accesses this add employee module a lot. So it will try to lazy load that particular employee add module at that particular time. So really good solution in case you are using Google Analytics. Pankti has a question. Can we have this presentation to check later on different topics? I mean, you need the link to the slides. I can share that with you. So let me just do that. Share. And I'll just push this code as well. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, I'll push this code and it will be available on GitHub as well. Where's this?
While you were giving your presentation, I tried out your NGX Builders Analyze on a project, an old Angular project that has ES5, the target set to ES5, and I found that it wasn't quite working because I was expecting ES 2015. Is there a specific version I could use that would work on ES5 targets?
For ES5, I have to make some changes into the tool. So right now, I'm just looking for all the ES 2015 files because most of the browsers support that. Because it is written internally, I try to find all the files which has ES 2015 in it, and then just run the tool. Otherwise, you can just just go ahead and use the Source Map Explorer as it is. It is a different tool which is available. So I'm just I have added a wrapper, right? So an Angular wrapper on top of it.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, well, if we have no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the live stream. So those of you on Twitch, thanks for hanging out and watching with us. I know there are a few of you. Those of you on YouTube who are watching this later, again, thanks for subscribing, watching the video, all that kind of stuff. And let's give Santosh a big round of applause, virtually at least. Yay!
Thank you.
I guess jazz hands is the new applause, right?
What's coming up next, Guy?
Next month, we've got, thank you for that prompt because I almost missed it. Let me go out to columbusjs.org. Next month, we have Jenna Charlton doing an Agile testing basics for non-testers. So it's not a JavaScript talk per se. It's a how to make our JavaScript suck less by testing it better. And so Jenna will be giving that talk. She'll be coming to us from Cleveland, Ohio. And then in December, we got TJ Van Tol giving a talk, what web developers can learn from native mobile developers, which I think should be quite interesting, having done a fair bit of web development and a fair bit of mobile development. So yeah, that's what we got planned for the next 2 months. And after that, I've got a couple people lined up, but I don't have any talks on actually on the schedule yet. So yeah, that's what we got coming up. And if anyone out there listening is interested in speaking, feel free to hit me up on Twitter and just let me know that you're interested. I kind of view meetups as sort of like an open mic night kind of thing. So if you want to talk, I will give you a venue. You know, you don't have to have any experience. You don't have to feel like you don't have anything to say. You have something to say. There's always someone that needs to hear what you have to say. So if you're interested in giving a talk, please step up and do that. So, and with that, if there aren't any further questions or any prompts or things that I've forgotten, then I'm going to kill the stream. I see a bunch of questions in chat now. Just a lot of thanks from everyone. Yeah, you got the pull request out there, Santosh. And yeah, so thanks a lot, and let's kill the stream.